In-depth analysis and dissection of news that matters. It's today's News Surgery on the SEMTV Morning Pulse. Stay with us.
Welcome back to News Surgery right here on SEMTV Morning Pulse. On today's News Surgery, we're dissecting the judgment that has taken place against Saleh Mahmoud, Nigeria's former Minister of Power, who served between 2019 to 2021. He's been sentenced to 75 years in prison by a federal high court sitting in Abuja, effectively ending his political career and gubernatorial ambitions. As we already know, Saleh Mahmoud was eyeing the governor seat in his state. So we're going to take a look at this more. Justice James Omotosho delivered the judgment in absentee. Saleh Mahmoud was not present in court on Wednesday, May 13, finding Maman guilty of a 12-count charge involving 33.8 billion naira, approximately $22 million, in money laundering and fraud related to the Mambila and Zungeru hydroelectric power projects. Now, the judge had ordered that the sentences for the 12 counts run consecutively, one after another rather than concurrently. So in other words, he has been sentenced to a total of 75 years instead of running concurrently, like together. It's going to be running one after the other. Maman was sentenced to 7 years each on 10 counts, which summed up to about 75 years, along with 3 years and 2 years on other counts as well. The sentence was handed down without the option of a fine, except for a 10 million naira fine on one count. Now, the court also ordered the forfeiture of several properties in Abuja and foreign currencies recovered from him. Interpol and other security agencies have been directed to arrest Maman whenever it is that they see him. He was absent during the sentencing, but whenever it is that he's been arrested is when he's going to be commencing his prison term. Now, this conviction immediately crushes Maman's aspirations to contest for the governorship seat of in Taraba State in the 2027 general elections under the APC. The ruling might be, a gain to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, especially as it goes on its anti-corruption campaign regarding critical infrastructural projects. Now, this ruling is viewed as one that has, been a light for EFCC, as EFCC have already been going after politicians, concerning anti-corruption campaign. So I'm going to come to Francis first off on this particular story, seeing that Maman was about to, contest for governorship seat under the APC in Taraba State. Do you think that this is fair? Do you think it's politically influenced in any way, or it is what he deserves? I mean, 33.8 billion naira fraud is a lot.
Well, I'll say this is just another show, another charade, another film trick, so another cinematic experience orchestrated by the Nigerian EFCC, the anti-corruption agency, and the Nigerian judiciary. Why am I saying so? Take a mind back to 2023. Prior to the 2023 general elections, we all saw what happened between Rochas Okorocha and the EFCC. What has that case resulted in today in Nigeria as we speak? So it's part of the political gimmicks that we see. Probably the movers, the powers that be within the APC does not want him to contest the election. And one of the ways to shut him up is to give him a case. And it's laughable that a court sitting in Nigeria would sentence somebody in absentia, and then you're now mandating Interpol and security agencies to arrest him. The same country that we have stayed here and travel outside the continent of Africa to go and arrest somebody, and then repatriate that person back to Nigeria, can now find somebody who is already a known figure. You know his address, you know his movements, you know his whereabouts. This is not some insignificant individual that you wouldn't say, oh, the government officials or the security agencies don't know his whereabouts. This is a prominent figure. So it's laughable for the government, for the judiciary and the security agencies to say, okay, we have not been able to arrest this person. If you've not been able to arrest the person, how then are you able to judge the person and then give the guilty verdict? Was he given the opportunity to plead his case? And how are we certain that, the lawyers, if we had a representation for him, were actually contacted by him to represent himself in court? The Nigerian constitutions allow for everybody to have a defense attorney. So if you're declaring somebody guilty as charged in absentia, we can definitely mean that doesn't, hold water in the presence of any valid reason. Because for one, the person is not available in court. The defense attorney, if he was present in court, we cannot say for sure if he was acting on behalf of his client or he was acting on behalf of the opposition. So it's a laughable scenario. I won't say this is a win for the EFCC. Yes, we've seen them go after different politicians, former state governors, former, political appointees of different administration. But how many of those have we seen? The only people we see being put behind bars every day are common young Nigerians who we always see plastered fraudsters, Yahoo boy, internet this, internet that, thrown into prison. But talk about the politicians who are stealing and milking the country dry across the different states of the Federation. We rarely see that being done.
Okay, so I'm going to come to you, Tammy. Seeing Salah as also part of the APC, do you foresee any sort of presidential pardon on his case, or do you think that the president should really just keep himself away from this one?
The thing is, we have to even first of all wait for his appeal because he was sentenced in absentia, and it doesn't stand until, like he said, you don't know if his lawyer, if his defense attorney was working in his favor or if he was working against, his favor. So we'll wait for his appeal. When have we ever seen in Nigeria that they sentenced a major politician and they served the term? Come to talk of 75 years, 7 counts, several 7 counts of 7 years.
And without the option of 5.
Without the option,
just
exactly.
one count has an option of 5.
Like Francis said, this is just, coming soon cinema. That's just what we're seeing here.
Yeah.
Because I don't see this, if you even trace antecedents, it's not something. I mean, yes, I'm all welcome to change. The only constant thing in the universe is change. And you know what? Let me not be,
pessimistic.
Exactly. Let me not be pessimistic. Let me be optimistic. This is
You're
perhaps
playing the devil's advocate.
Yeah. This is perhaps the first step to something good. We've been asking for change. We've been asking for our politicians to be held accountable. We've been asking for justice, and they've given us justice. Why are we complaining? So
are we complaining though?
No, that's the thing. So I think that there shouldn't be any, presidential pardon. 33.8 billion naira. It's not little money. How do you want to pardon for that? Even if you want to pardon, what about all of that? This is not just corruption. This is infrastructure. You're basically working against the government because you are putting a stumbling block in the infrastructural development of Nigeria. That can basically be seen as treason. So I don't think there is anything as a presidential pardon that will be, that will involve the president because he's from APC.
Well,
but you never know. Exactly, you never know. They can undo and they can redo. So
let me come to you, Francis, with the question of the judiciary system in Nigeria. So far there's been mixed reactions, mixed feelings about the judiciary, especially in regards to politics. So many laws have been broken by the same judiciary, and some have been made, by the same judiciary. So does this give the Nigerian judiciary, any sort of, hope, any sort of green light? Like, okay, we are doing great in the judiciary, or there is hope for the judiciary system of Nigeria?
Well, the Nigerian judiciary has lost faith from the side of the people. The last hope of the common man cliche has been taken out of context because a lot of Nigerians no longer believe in the judiciary system. Do we believe there can be some changes? Maybe. When we have the right leadership structures, we have the powers of institutions being stronger than the powers of the individual. Can they get it right? Yes, they can, but a lot of work needs to be done. And then when you look at the present reality, let's still go back to prior to 2020 or post 2023 general elections, and prior to 2023 general elections, the word status quo antebellum was interpreted by lawyers, senior advocates of Nigeria. Different lawyers had different interpretation. We had sections of the Nigerian legal system interpreting it in favor of the APC. We had those interpreting it in favor of the PDP. We had those who were on the neutral basis. But when you left the higher echelon, the highest, the senior advocates level, and come down to the regular lawyers who are not science, you could hear the difference in the interpretation, and it was synchronized across boards, whether they were of the APC or of the PDP. That clearly shows you these guys have not been bought over. I remember particularly in Akwa Ibom, Barrister Mike Igini was speaking on one side and stating categorically that status quo antebellum for the PDP meant certain things, for the APC meant certain things. But when it came to the federal level, Festus, was it Festus Kayamo, one of the legal representatives for the INEC, interpreted it in a different way. And he was also a lawyer. So when you find lawyers who have all gone through the judiciary system, they all went through law schools in Nigeria, thought with the same curriculum, coming out to interpret one law in multiple ways, it clearly shows that somebody has been bought by somebody, and somebody is no longer loyal or no longer practicing the professional codes, interpreting the law as it ought to be interpreted. Now, as long as we continue to have this happening in our system, the judiciary is nothing but an agent sold to the highest bidder and to perpetrate the wheels of the whims of their masters.
Okay, so tell me, I think there's like going to be like a last, talk on this particular conversation. The politicians who are being targeted by the EFCC, ever since 2023, if I'm not mistaken, we've seen the EFCC go on this rampage, go the anti-corruption, campaign, and a lot of politicians. We've also seen dramatic scenes that have, existed because of this, campaign. Now, the other politicians who are obviously in the eyes of the EFCC at this particular moment, do you think that, the EFCC, these politicians should actually be worried, saying that, oh, EFCC have won this particular case? Should they be worried? Yeah, a lot of people, Rufai is currently going through his own, like other sort of politicians are going through. Yeah, Hodeo, this former governor of CBN, going through his own as well with the AFCC. Do you think that they should actually be worried at this point? Because most definitely they have a chance of winning cases or against them.
I mean, of course, they will be worried because at this point, it seems as though, the judiciary is doing what the judiciary is meant to do. Not look at your status, don't look at your office. Their job is to prosecute you. If you're found guilty, you face the consequence. If you're not found guilty, you are let go. So if they are in a situation where they have compromising evidence against them, they know they have evidence of wrongdoing placed against them, and the EFCC, of course, as is their job, they do their investigations and go about to, apprehend this individual, of course they should be afraid. I believe that, like I said earlier, I'm trying not to be pessimistic. I'm trying to, be optimistic. If this is the step we're looking forward to, if this is the light at the end of the tunnel that we've been, looking at, then of course they will be afraid. When Francis talked about how the law is being interpreted in different ways, I believe that's the whole point of having lawyers. Your lawyer can tell you that, oh, killing is wrong. And then another lawyer can tell you, well, yes, killing is wrong, but he killed under self-defense. Another person will tell you, oh, yeah, even in the self-defense, there is use of reasonable force. And then they'll tell you that who is to say that this force was not reasonable in such and so and so. In as much as the law is cut and dry, the law says this, your lawyers are there to contest it in differing ways. So if the lawyer says that, you have one lawyer saying, okay, yeah, the law states this, but this, that, and then this other lawyer comes in to say, yeah, the law also states this, but this, that, as long as it is not necessarily being biased, I don't think there's much of a problem. So if our politicians or these other politicians have, skeletons in their closet and they're being, scared, I think that's a good thing because it then shows that there are checks and balances. You can't just going about doing wrong things without looking forward to the consequence. So yes, I do believe so.
All right, so obviously we're looking forward to other judicial matters concerning EFCC and some of our political leaders, and we are hoping to see what the outcome of those, battles will be at the end of the day. But for now, Salah Maman rather, has been sentenced to 75 years in prison in absentia, as he's currently not even anywhere that is visible, to be arrested and to begin his sentencing. But whatever happens in the political, political scene regarding those people, will always be here to give you reports on that. That is where we wrap it up on News Surgery this morning. A very big thank you for being a part of the show. My name is Vera Philip, and yes, please have a beautiful rest of your day.
Worried about the state of your world? Need better and broader ideas? Stay tuned to SEM-TV 24/7. Always thinking possibilities. SEM-TV. Reliable news and entertainment.